Please know the recording has started. Welcome to our Thursday test. We rescheduled this one from earlier this week when we were blocked by a bug, but that turned out to work really well. We've both resolved the bug and completed some work in the block store that really is going to change the way that node operators can expect to catch back up to the state of a network pending a restart. And so that's our focus for today. If you are running a node during today's session, let me post a link in the chat window here to the worksheet. And just going to call out a number of things. Let me share my screen. Okay. So on the right-hand side of my screen, this is the worksheet. There's a link in the chat window. I want to make sure that if you do plan to run a node, if you have installed RDoctor and our RChain doctor and are prepared to run with that, that helps us aggregate logs, and we'll take a look closely at that together in a few moments. I'll also demonstrate how to visualize the blockchain, but if you're interested in instructions, they are in the user guide, and so you're welcome to take a look at that. I want to make sure that we are all using at least this version of RNode. We had a commit, so we did release RNode 8.4 yesterday, late yesterday, but the version that we are testing today is ahead of that. So if you have at least this version, then you're good to go. There's also been another commit to dev since then, and that would work as well. There are links to the binaries. You can work off of the Docker image. Don't really need to worry about validation for today, but if you were to be a validator in this testing scenario, you would need a key set, a public and a private key set, but that's not going to be a requirement to go through the testing for today. We don't need to report public keys today, and I will be sharing the Bootstrap in a little bit. What I'd like to do first is provide a demonstration of the block store and how it helps support a node that is aware of the state of the DAG and then for whatever reason is killed and comes back up. And so that's what I'm going to start with as a demonstration. And then we'll have an opportunity, if you're running a node, for you to join this network, catch up to the state of the node, and kill and restart to your heart's content. Okay, so with that, let me show you what's happening right now. We have a Bootstrap and a validator. So we have Bootstrap, validator 1, and then my node, Kelly's node. And so I've got a filter here on the logs, and we're looking specifically at validator 1. Validator 1 is happily proposing. I'm proposing manually periodically, and all is well with the world. And if I were to look at my node and ask to just see how many blocks we have. All right, so there's 10 blocks here. And if we were to visualize that, Pavel has a slick way of doing this, but I haven't learned how to do that yet. All right, so if you're looking at the right-hand side of my screen, what you can see is a visualization of my node's perception of the state of things, and that's pretty important. This is the view from my node, and my node is using this public key 191. 315 is validator 1, and because Bootstrap is not a validator, it's not shown here. You can see here at the bottom is the Genesis block. Validator 1 was proposing. I did some proposals, our deployments, proposing of blocks, and so did RNode 1, our validator 1. And then you can see when you see a block that is grayed out, that's an indication of finalization, meaning that they have agreed to come to a consensus that this truly is a final block and are moving forward from there. So that is the state of things right now. And so let us, first let me pause. Are there any questions about that? Hey, Mal, I'll share the Bootstrap node in just a minute. Let me finish the demonstration, and then we can all do this together. So just be patient, wait one moment. Okay, any questions about the state of things? Fantastic. All right, so here on the left-hand side of my screen, you can see this is the console of the node that I'm running. And you can see that in the time that we've talked, we've received some additional blocks. So now I'm just making note that as I'm killing my node is aware of block number 12. And so here I go, killing the node, and I can validate that validator 1 is still moving right along. And what I'm going to do is wait for just a moment and wait to see validator 1. Oh, I got to block 13. All right, so now we're looking for validator 1 to send the next block, because I would like to, not only would I like to demonstrate that I can bring back my node and preserve the state of things as it saw at block 13, but also that it can then continue to catch up as validator 1 has moved ahead. And so that should take just about a minute, because validator 1's proposing on every minute. So here you can see that validator 1 has deployed a rolling contract, and it's in the process of processing that. It's attempting to add that block to its DAG, and once it's done that, it will start sending it out. Yeah.
It should be out.
Okay, yep, I see it. Fantastic. Okay, so with that, so my node has been down. There's last block it received was 13, although it's not clear that it fully processed 13. So let's restart. I'm restarting the node to connect back to the bootstrap. And if you are a long-time node runner, I'm just going to call out a couple of things that might look different as we reboot from the block storage. All right, team, so this looks different to me. I expected for it to say that it already had the Genesis block in storage, but let's go and see. Nope, okay. So, so just to describe what happened here, my node was down, it restarted, and as it restarted, it remembered that its last block received was block 13, and is picking up from there. You can see that since it's been now reconnected to both the Bootstrap and Validator 1, that it has not only received but processed and added block 14. So I would anticipate seeing block 14 here. Oh, and then some. And then likewise, let's go back and take a look at the, so remember, at about the time that I killed the node, this is the view of the world according to my node. Let's particularly remember that the finalized block was at 9C.
Can we also change the bootstrap address after restart?
Can you change the bootstrap address after restart?
To some other validator.
That's an interesting question. I mean, if just going through the mental exercise of it, I don't see why you couldn't. And I haven't tried.
Okay,
all right,
thanks.
so let's do this. Pavel, you say yes?
Yes.
Okay, so left side of my screen is node at the time I killed it, more or less. I think there was one additional block just before I killed it. And then this is node soon after restart. So not only did it preserve the state, it preserve the state of things, and was then also able to continue it and move forward. And this is really important because you need the ability in a network environment to bring down your node for whatever reason. Maybe it has an error, maybe something happened, and have a sense that you will be able to catch up. We've observed in our testing sessions to date that it's possible to catch up fairly quickly to an existing blockchain of, maybe 100 or a couple hundred blocks, but you can imagine a future where that chain is significantly larger, and you would never catch up in a scenario where there were hundreds of blocks and they were proposing on a minute cadence, and you had to catch up. You wouldn't be successful doing that in a restart scenario without the support of the block store. So with that, does anybody have any questions about what we've demonstrated here or how that's working?
This is great.
I'm glad you're excited. I'm excited too. This is really cool. It's so neat to see this in progress and understand. Yeah.
I don't see the Bootstrap address.
No, I haven't shared it yet.
Okay.
Okay, so it sounds like you guys are ready to get started. So let's just remember, please make sure you're running at least this version of Node. It was as of this time earlier today or later. So this version or later will work. And let me grab the Bootstrap address. Or Tomasz, do you have it handy?
Yep.
Awesome, thank you. So if you'll, Tomasz is going to put the Bootstrap address in the chat window. There's the Bootstrap address. And so what you can expect as a node operator joining this network is, one, you should be successful in connecting to Bootstrap and receiving the Genesis block. And then you should also be successful catching up to the state of the network, which, where are we now? Looks to be like block 17.
Yep, 17.
And as you're doing that, feel free, you're welcome to come off mute or use the chat window if you have any questions or run into trouble. Again, this is a testing session. Our goal is, number one, to help you be successful here, and then also to, as we're able to identify any bugs or problems.
Kelly, have been multi-threaded applied to receiving the new blocks?
Let me make sure I understand the question. Has multi-threaded been applied to receiving new blocks?
Yeah, there was a problem when Node responded for a very long time because the only one thread was used to answer that request.
Yeah, I think Sebastian already merged the PR that fixed it.
I think so too. Yeah. So that's about, you're correct. That has
Right.
been changed.
Very nice.
I have this error, and after that, my node is like stopped.
Okay, let's look.
Oh, that is interesting.
Tomislav, had you run your node earlier?
No, this is first time.
This first time, okay. And so,
Yeah.
and you're...
Yeah, I pulled the last version from Docker.
Okay.
I see. Yeah, this is bug, but it's we are probably, you have TMP on different file system, which is obvious. Oh, I see. And someone is trying to hard link. Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't understand.
Right. I'm glad you sound happy,
So-
Tomasz, but what's happening here?
Yeah, this is a bug. It seems that we are using hard link on on cross-file systems, basically.
Oh,
So it's a bug.
It's a bug.
For now, the thing that you most likely should do is, could you use the data directory that will be located somewhere on in your home directory?
okay. I'm using
I don't
Docker,
think-
so
Oh, it's Docker.
yeah.
Is it?
I don't think it will happen because we are creating files in TMP and probably with some function for creating temporary files, which uses TMP, which is on Linux usually on temporary file system. Yeah.
Oh, it's about temporary file. Oh, I see.
Yeah, it's that the file is created on other file system and hard links cannot cross file systems.
Oh, so you are creating hard links.
Yeah.
Okay. Can I do something now?
Well, you could make varlib RNode. You could create a directory in TMP and link it as a symbolic link into varlib RNode. Then it will work because all files will be in one file system. Do you want to comment? Do you want to show comment in chat?
Yeah, that would be helpful. So I'm thinking, can I use the same image or?
Yeah, sure.
But I should not start it directly, right? I should start it like a different entry point and just make modification on the file system and then start it.
Yeah.
Okay, I will try that.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Let me just come up with the command.
My node catching up with the network state much faster.
You are?
That's really good.
Good.
It
How many
feels
peers
good.
do you have? How many peers do I have?
Give me a minute.
Me too.
I have 5.
Okay.
Tomislav, I posted to chat something along these lines should make it work. Basically, the place where are you mapping your RNode data? So to this place, you should also map the TMP directory.
Oh, I see. Okay, I will try that.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like Mal, you're shutting down. Let's see if you can get restart with your block store. I see a lot of new people here today, and my guess is many of you are up quite late. I'm so glad you're here.
So I received block 9, and then now it's looking for a missing block.
Oh, great.
It's failed to send response peer request timeout.
Yeah, and that's normal.
Actually, I have that too. I shouldn't have been so happy
Oh no, be
because
happy,
now I having a lot of requests and missing blocks and timeouts.
Okay, let me make sure I understand kind of the state of things for you. You brought up a node, you've been catching up, you had 5 peers.
Yeah, I've been
and you've
packaged up to block 10 very
But that's
quickly,
it?
but yes, but now I'm stuck.
Okay, hold on.
I'm stuck at 9.
Okay.
Missing block.
Now, Zipper, when you look at your log, are you seeing a lot of requests over and over again for the same block?
I am.
Yeah,
You are,
I
Jim?
have 3 requests for one block and another 3 requests for the other block.
Okay, and then the next question is, do you see receipt for the block that you're requesting? So do you see that you're receiving it from other nodes?
No, I see peer request timeout. Failed to send a response. Peer request timeout.
Okay. And did you, in your run command, did you make any specification for the default timeout? Or are you running off the default timeout?
I have set default timeout 60,000.
Me too. Okay. 60,000. No,
This can be potentially related with something that Sebastian is working right now.
Related to timeout?
Yeah. When there potentially can be a situation where when nodes there's like a tremendous amount of messages running through the communication layer.
Okay, I just got 11th.
But it should catch up eventually. It might be just locked for a second, like a few minutes.
Hey, NutZipper and Jim, you guys are fairly agile and we have time. Let's try this. Why don't you kill your node?
Actually, I'm already on 13.
Oh, you're already on 13, so you kind of got over a hump.
It went through.
How much RAM do you have?
16 gigabytes.
All right, Jim, how much RAM do you have?
4 gigabytes.
4. Okay, so something to consider.
Default timeout.
Okay. So something, Jim, for you to consider is 4 is very low for being successful running node in a busy network. I think it's going to take at least 16 and ideally 32. So that's something to consider. And then the other thing that, I know Sebastian is working to augment the default timeout, but running with a larger default timeout, for example, I'm running with like 6 million.
Yeah, I just ran out of Java heap space.
Okay, and I think that's indicative of the size, the amount of RAM that you have available to node. Do you have the possibility of increasing that? Are you in a cloud environment?
Yeah.
Do you want to give it a go during the session of increasing it to like 16 or 32?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Uh-oh. Oh no. Oh, that's just Jim.
Kelly.
Yeah.
I have an error when I try to start the node. I think I'm using the adductor. You can see the.
That's fine, Will. Give me just a second, Will.
Okay.
Oh, there you are.
I'm using the bar doctor here, and it doesn't see.
Yeah. No.
How do I kill this thing reasonably? Control C doesn't do anything.
Control C is not doing anything. It's not killing your node.
No.
That has happened from time to time.
There are 2 exceptions in my logs. One is the HTTP one, and another one is the block store IO error.
Yeah, here. Yep. So, Pavel, and you weren't around earlier when we were walking through this, and then we had to move to our plan B. This uncaught exception is fairly significant, and it's not fully logged here. Will, can you grab on your console the full error?
Yes.
Okay.
Do you want me to file a ticket or?
Cool. Yes, please. That would be fantastic.
We actually need the full error. We're aware of this issue, and Daniel submitted a PR like 3 hours ago to the issue is
that's right.
the null value is not very informative, so we're gonna actually print out the message. And so yeah, we should give it a run tomorrow and then figure out what the actual error is. And I'm pretty sure it's not hard to reproduce. So
what's the current block height?
That's a good question. Let's find out. Joshy, what do you got over here?
I dropped the wrong link. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm like the right one, but I just opened an issue and can't figure out how to get to it. I don't know what number.
Oh, you know what? If you look at search, it will tell you, it will show you the things that you've done most recently.
Oh, thank you. Okay, I'll get the right one.
Give that a try. All right, so I've got a block height of 28.
Me too.
Okay.
Block height is 29 on validator 1.
Oh, 29. It's fast moving. It's hard to keep up. All right, so I want to make sure we've covered this. Kent, we were aware of this particular error. Daniel put something in very recently. We don't need to take any other action here. Should Will try restart cleanup and try again?
I tried
Sure.
several times.
We're not sure what the issue is exactly. I know Tomasz said it had something to do with Docker, but I don't know.
I'm not using Docker.
Okay, that's good to know. But yeah, I think rather than speculating on what this bug could be, once we get the error message, I'm sure it's not too hard to figure out. So
hey guys, just to make sure, are you talking about IO error exception wrapper null?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one I just opened. Sorry if that's a dupe. I didn't realize you were talking about the same.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
Joshi, can you post the issue output of mount?
Output of what?
Mount.
M-O-U-N-T?
Yes.
Yeah, let me just scan that real quick and see what's in there, and then I'll post it.
Okay, thank you. And Will, you please also post the output of mount, yeah.
Okay.
Guys, why don't you guys add it to this? Please add that output to this ticket. I'm wondering if it's worth, let's see, I'm looking at the time. Did Daniel's PR go in? Kent, do you know for sure?
yes, it was merged.
It was merged. Okay, so something to consider, Joshi and Will. You guys are not running off of Docker. If you wanted to try again with the update that Daniel put in, you could do that by using this version of Node.
Okay.
Here's a link to that repo where you can pull up the binary if you want.
Tom, you want the info from the mount command?
Yeah.
Okay. I posted in the ticket.
Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Alrighty. I have lost track of looking at logs while we were having this conversation. Has anyone successfully killed a node and brought it back in a reasonable way by starting off from where you had from the block store?
Could you tell me the blockade?
Mm-hmm. Yes, excellent, Mel. I've got a block height of 29. My guess is validator 1 might be 1 ahead of me.
Yeah, it's 30.
So let's take a look at things. Okay, so that's what it used to look like. All right, so if you're following along, and the right side of my screen is the current view of the DAG according to my node. Has a sense that there's 29 blocks. And you can see here's my node on the left, here's the validator 1 on the right. Validator 1 is being more consistent about proposing than I am because I'm doing it manually. But the other thing that you can observe is that finalization also continues to progress. We saw finalization much lower in the DAG earlier, and now we see it moving up as the validation process continues. So that's all good news there.
Joshi, well, are you using Docker?
I'm not using Docker. I'm running on directly on my laptop on Linux.
Okay.
Yeah, me too.
Thanks.
Hey, Kelly, I had a question about the DAG you showed earlier,
Mm-hmm.
just a second ago.
Yep.
It looks like in a couple places there's forks in the DAG, and they don't get re-merged. I know at some point that was just disabled. I wondered if that's still the case.
It's been re-enabled. Kent, can you speak to what we're looking at?
Do you have, what contracts are you proposing?
I'm proposing dupe. And so I'm proposing dupe, and validator 1 is proposing random, correct, Tomasz?
Yes.
Okay, so validator 1 is...
That probably explains it. If it's random and the contents of the channels in the contract conflict with the other blocks, then they won't get merged. Yeah, merging is enabled right now. So like in theory, if you propose two contracts that don't have conflicting blocks, you should eventually see some kind of merging behavior. Oh, sorry, did I say blocks? I meant channels.
Yeah, right, if they don't have conflicting channels. I think dupe only has that one @dupe public name, right? I mean, I'm not familiar with that random contract. Where could I find that?
Is it random? I thought it was in the examples folder.
Yeah, it's basically a random contract from examples folder.
Okay, yeah, I know where to look. Thanks. Cool.
All right, let's see. We've got a chain. So we were about at the half-hour mark. I am curious. All right, so my node shows 31 blocks. Let's kill it.
Can we try to propose?
No, you are not bonded. So you will get an invalid and slashable block.
But can we go through bonding process?
No. We're still working on some issues related to that. Now, that being said, if you would like to, as soon as I bring my node back up, if you'd like to use my node, you can.
Yeah.
Okay, let me restart it.
Nice to see. I killed my node, boot it up again, and now I'm on 33 block.
Nice. I'm excited.
Pretty nice. Yes.
All right, here is my IP address if you would like to deploy and propose via my node. Actually, it's good. Okay, it's good. Yeah.
Thanks, Joshi. So yeah, it seems like the mysterious null message was actually a atomic move is not supported exception. That's good to know. We'll have to debug that, but
yeah, I'm just looking at the mode commands, and both Joshi and Will have file system, a different file system on home. So that will probably be the reason.
Oh, interesting. You're hypothesizing that maybe it's because our home directory is on a different partition than our system directory?
Exactly.
Okay, cool. So should I test it with a different data dir that's on the same partition as like
TMP? It should be in TMP because something creates file in TMP and then tries to move it.
Okay.
By hard link to the dotted iris. So it should be on TMP.
So you're saying if I make like /TMP/RNode and use that, it's worth testing? Okay, yeah, let me do that. I'll be right back.
It looks there's some bug in when I deploy.
When you deploy, see more. Oh.
Well, it looks like some.
Hold on. Did I do something wrong?
Can you post the command line? $52,119,864. Huh. You've done this successfully though before, NetZipper, right?
Yeah, in previous
Yeah,
sessions.
right. That's what I remember. Okay.
Nancyper, can you please post the full stack trace?
So Tomasz, I think you're right. I ran it with my datadir and /temp, and everything seems normal now.
Cool, cool.
Me too. Everything is normal here with the change of the data directory.
Hmm. So dev team, is that something that we need to add to the user guide in terms of how people should get set up to run Node, or is this something that we would want to change in how Node is running?
No, it's a bug.
Yeah, I was thinking. Oh, go for it.
No, it's a bug because, well, I'm not sure if it's because of libraries we are using or if it's part of JDK, but we shouldn't be really using hard links this way.
Yeah, I agree. We should move the temp directory to under .rnode, and there's no reason that we can't do that. So
Okay. All right. Cool.
I pasted my stack trace into Discord because it's somehow.
So Jim, it looks like you brought a node back up. Did you bring up a bigger machine?
I did. I discovered the machine, which is the Colab machine, which RNode machine. Was only 1 gigabyte.
Oh, that's tiny.
I'm surprised we've had the success we've had in the past.
So are you seeing success in catching up?
No, I just brought it up a step to 4 gigabytes. I wanted to see what would happen, and I'm getting timeouts.
Yeah, yeah.
Not added, could not receive response to heartbeat.
And when you did your run command, you had a default timeout. Did you specify a default timeout?
I did not.
Okay.
I presume that's in the instructions. But that was...
No, it's not. It's it's an issue that Sebastian is currently working on that's not yet in the code base. But the default, what we're observing is that the default timeout, which is quite small, does not help your node be successful in a busy environment where busy means a number of peers and a lot of activity from validators. So that I think the outcome of Sebastian's work will be a larger default timeout. In the meantime, you could specify at runtime in your run command a significantly larger default timeout. For example, I think mine is like 6 million.
Okay, so that's just dash timeout, or what is that? What's the option? Dash timeout, is that the option? What's the timeout option? Dash timeout?
Yeah, it's in chat.
Oops.
Do you see it in the chat, Jim?
Oh, okay. Got it. Thank you.
Cool. All right, we have about 15 more minutes. I've observed during the 45 minutes that we've been working that a number of people have been successful in bringing up their node, connecting to the network, catching up to the state of things, killing their node, catching back up to the state of things. We've also observed a couple issues at node restart related to the temp, where the temp directory is, and have filed that. We are noticing timeouts, I think related to just the fact that the default timeout is too small, and I do think it's not going to, a node that is 4 gigs is going to be too small. I think at minimum, a node operator should expect to use 16 and ideally 32. I think so too, Nutzipper. Really, I'm really grateful for the team's work in improving stability over the past few weeks. It's been a big effort to resolve those out-of-memory errors and to support the node with the block store so that we can restart when needed. Really exciting stuff. All right, let's take another look.
I'm unable to show blocks. It says no Casper instance was available. Do I need to be a bonded validator?
No. Can you see if you received the Genesis block?
Oh, yeah, sure. What does the log message look like?
That's a good question. Valid approved block received.
Okay, yeah, right. Okay, stand by.
All right, so if you're looking at my screen on the right-hand side, this is the view of the network at this point according to my node. And of course, I have not been paying attention to proposing, so my node here on the left is not validating and not proposing any new blocks, but validator number 1, who has auto proposal on its side, is continuing right along. And if we zoom in, we should see that the finalized block has moved up, and it has. So it used to be this block down here, 359, and now it's moving up to 641. So that's all very good news there.
So I'm pleased to say it's behaving well. I don't know how long it'll take before it runs out of memory.
Good news. That's great.
I got the approved block this time. I'm catching up. I'm receiving lots of blocks. Now I'm receiving duplicates.
Joshy, there's something going on where the RNode log is going somewhere else, and I forget. Hold on. Look for a directory called this. Yep, there you go. Well, thank you. Pavel, for what it's worth.
Looking for that. Sorry, where should I be looking for that?
It's created in the working directory of where you.
Oh, just wherever I ran the command from.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Pavel, there is a ticket for this. We observed within the past week, maybe week and a half, that for whatever reason, RNode.log, which used to end up very neatly in the RNode directory, is no longer going there. It's going to this new place called RNode.data.dir is undefined.
Yeah, Dominic told me that today.
Okay. Yeah, there's a ticket for it. It's in Sebastian's backlog.
Okay.
Looks like I did not receive the Genesis block. I was joining much later because it took me a long time to get started up. I don't know if
Okay.
that's relevant.
Yeah, it is relevant. I think it's relevant. So team, we also have a ticket open for this, but Joshi is verifying that this is still happening. In a world where the network is busy meaning there's activity of a validator is constantly proposing, and there are a variety of peers on the network who are busy sending and receiving and then saying that they received things. It is possible for a node operator to attempt to join the network and not receive the Genesis block, from my perspective, because their node is busy receiving other types of information and it's too noisy for them to get the Genesis block.
Yeah, that's probably the case, because what happens is that you join the network which is already busy, and you start receiving blocks, which the node realizes that it's missing parents, so it's storing that information and requesting the parents. At the same time, it requested the Genesis block. But until somebody eventually sends that Genesis block to him, but that is stuck on the queue. And
I would agree with that, Josh.
It might take a bit of time, but the node will realize that. We can potentially have a conversation if we should treat Genesis differently than other nodes. I don't know if that's a good idea. Maybe it is.
Yeah. So Joshi, for what it's worth, when I did an experiment with this the other week, I did receive the Genesis block at about the 2-hour mark.
Yeah, interesting. I got it sometime in between when I said I didn't and now. I now have 10 blocks, so I guess it did just take a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
But I'm just saying this is how the algorithm works. I don't know, like, we can treat it as a bug, but we probably have to have a conversation about it because it's working according to plan.
I agree, and I don't know that it's a bug as much as I think it's something that maybe we should optimize. Because a node that starts and does not get the Genesis block does not instantiate a Casper instance, so then they're not able to add any blocks until they get that Genesis block. They can receive them all the time, but they won't add them to their DAG until they've got Casper instantiated.
So I'm actually investigating stuff around it. So Node, you can treat Node as a little bit of a state machine, where we transition from state to state, especially when we bootstrap. The Genesis ceremony could be considered as state transition as well. And I don't think that was implemented a long time ago, and I don't think it's implemented in the right place. So I'll be looking at it, and I think it's also a good idea to have until you receive a Genesis block, you should pretty much ignore every other block message at this point. You should be like, I don't care, and just drop the messages on the queue until you receive the Genesis block.
Mm-hmm. That makes sense to me. But yeah, let's have a talk about it.
And why not just drop the messages? Because what are you going to do with these messages? And you are going to get them back anyway, aren't you?
Yeah, eventually you will ask for them eventually. Oh, we can have this conversation later on. I was just simply stating that what Joshua was experiencing was not really a bug, it was just how the algorithm works. And yes, we can have a conversation about whether this is the optimal way to do it, but it's not behaving correctly. It's actually doing the right thing.
I'm restarting my node to see. I'm curious to see if I have that same experience. Although I already had a sense for what the bootstrap was. I wonder if that matters. It still hasn't transitioned. So I guess it does matter. Oh, it transitioned very quickly. Okay. All right, so before I restarted, I had 42 blocks. Let's see if I still have that. Yep.
I'm not sure if it matters, but to remember that you have the tag in memory.
Yeah, I was wondering about that. Joshi, when you started a few minutes ago, did you have a tag in memory? Did you have a Genesis block in memory?
What do you mean by have it in memory? I would have just got it from the network, right? That was my first joining.
It was, yeah, okay. So that's what I was checking. It was your first attempt to join. So everything was clean.
Yeah, first remotely successful attempt. That's right.
Okay. So yeah, that could be. So Tomislav, did that work?
It seems so. I have a few blocks. Now I have 10 blocks.
Excellent. And Jim, you're still plugging along. Got 20, 21.
20, 22, 23. Jumping along.
All right, we are just about to the top of the hour, so let's quickly recap here. What we did today was demonstrate the ability to run a node, connect to a network, catch the state of the DAG, and then to kill that node and restart it with the DAG in memory and restart from where you left off, and then catch up to whatever happened while you were down, whether you were down for 30 seconds or several minutes. We're seeing success catching up, and we're seeing success catching up even as the blockchain continues to grow. And so we have also observed some issues. We filed a bug related to TMP. We have again observed the challenges that node operators face when, although it's working correctly, should you not receive a Genesis block fairly early on, it does complicate things in a busy network environment, and we have agreed to have a conversation about that. Is there anything else we should make sure to capture?
Team did awesome progress.
Yeah. When I do a RNode VDAG,
Uh-huh.
I get a connection refused on localhost 404.01. Did I miss an argument or something?
I don't think so. I mean, if I have node running and I call RNode VDAG, you expect node to give you information. Can you confirm your node is running? Oh yeah, I see it running.
Yeah, it's running.
Are you executing the command on your local machine or on the remote one?
It's on the remote machine.
Did you change ports?
I don't believe so.
Well, okay. Well, you guys see if you can sort that. I want to make one more request before we sign off here. There of those of you who are fairly regular, or those of you who would like to be fairly regular, we typically do these tests on Tuesdays, and have been doing that for the better part of 9 months. We talked as a team last week about the benefit of moving the test to Thursday. Now, that it was a fluke this week that worked out simply because we were blocked by the bug on Tuesday. However, we talked about the benefit of running the test on Thursday is that we as a development team can meet on or stand up on Monday, make a plan for the test, and then run it ourselves and address any issues, and have a more reliable product to test in a community environment on Thursdays. I'm curious to hear from those of you, especially those of you who are regular. Do you have any concerns, or would it be a blocker to you to move from a Tuesday to a Thursday test? Thanks, NetZipper. Josh, you're
Thursday
Thomas.
Yeah, it's fine for me.
Okay.
This time has been Josh's roll-line hours.
Okay. Josh,
I was just going to say, Jim and I have been doing the Rolang learning sessions at this time. If you do want to move it, I'm sure we could also move to accommodate, or maybe put them end to end or something. So I don't have particularly strong feelings about that.
okay. Okay.
Although, Jim, maybe you do. You're the one that hosts it and has the Zoom room.
I'm sure we can find another time. You know.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We're not making a decision here. I was curious to get your feedback. It is something that we've talked about as a team. It's something that we'll talk about during our stand-up tomorrow, and then we'll make a decision and make sure there's adequate announcement and time. Also, just as a reminder, there is a daylight savings time enters into the world starting on Sunday the 10th for me, and later or never for others. So starting next week, whether we choose to do it on Tuesday or Thursday, it will be at 1600 UTC instead of 1500. We will make that shift. All right, well, we are here at the top of the hour. I'm very grateful for everyone who came out to take a look at what's been going on and how these testing sessions work. I'm grateful for our regulars who are here to help us run nodes and show success, and also help to test and harden and find bugs. So many, many thanks to all of you. If you have any other questions, you know how to reach us, and otherwise we're going to wrap up the testing session here.
Okay, I don't know. Now I'm getting error while streaming packet quite often.
That's just that your peer disconnected.